Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant, and this is a first look at the new upcoming ship for Elite Dangerous, as well as the CQC Arena Combat Deathmatch mode, due to be released very soon. Now what we're looking at here is the new Condor ship that's going to be a part of the CQC mode. This footage here is from the Elite Dangerous Twitch stream that Frontier have just done. Now Frontier will be releasing their full stream tomorrow for those of you that have missed it, and it will be available in their archives, and Edward Lewis has said that he will post it to the various social media as well as the Elite Dangerous forums. But for now, I've got some of the highlights for you from that stream, and one of the best parts of it that I really did like seeing was this new ship here. The lovely blue colour is one of the sides that are going to be in the PvP matches. The other colour will be red, so it's a case of red versus blue. And if we jump ahead, we can have a look at this thing in action. A very nippy ship it is too, capable of doing some very rapid turns. Now this is one of the maps here. Dan, the guy on the left there, one of the developers from Frontier, is flying us around the map, letting us have a look in it. Now there's a number of things that are very important on CQC that make combat vastly different to how it operates in the main Elite Galaxy. For those of you that aren't aware, CQC is an arena combat module, and it is completely independent from the main game. You can access it from the main menu, where you normally would select what mode you want to play. There will now be a CQC mode allowing you to hop in and do some combat. One of the important facts about that is that it is PvP only. There will be no combat against AI, which I think is a fair bit of a shame, but I can sort of see why Frontier would have done that. One, because it would need different AI programmed into it, because there's different strategies used on these maps, and in addition to that, it would probably run the risk of pulling more players away from the main game world. Now, sorry, the quality of this video is a little bit low. That's due to the footage having come from Frontier's Twitch stream, and I'm not going to show the whole lot of footage here. If you want to see that, do wait and have a look at the archive footage. I'll put a link in the video, in my video description, linking you to that. It's well worth checking out and listening to what these guys have got to say. They put quite a lot of time into doing this stream for us, so do check them out. So aside from the fact that the ships are actually turn faster on CQC, all the ships that are in the game turn much faster. I think they have a faster yaw than they do in the main game. One big change is line of sight. When a ship gets out of your line of sight, you can no longer see it. It vanishes from your sensors and breaks weapons lock, and this is what these tunnels are about. If you've got someone chasing you, you can zip down these tunnels and attempt to break the line of sight, meaning that the person chasing you will not be able to constantly attack you, and you may even be able to zip out the other side of these tunnels, whip yourself around and ambush the other player as they come spinning out of the tunnel there themselves. So it certainly looks like it's going to make for some fast-paced combat, and makes it perhaps a bit more arcadey than what we're used to in the main game. And that brings us to power-ups. Flying through these little hoops here, if you get through them without hitting the sides, that is, you smash the little hologram in the centre there and you get yourself a power-up. In this case it's a weapon power-up. I think it makes double damage on this one. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not entirely sure, should I say, of just how it upgrades your weapon, but this one is a weapons upgrade. There are other upgrades laying around. I think there's shield upgrades and engine upgrades as well, and I would imagine they are timed, so you get them but only for a fixed duration. And there we go, a nice little effect there as well. So talking about smashing things up, there is some destructible scenery in this game. There's areas of the stations here, the environments, that can actually be shot and destroyed, and when you destroy them that will be shared and seen by all the other players in the map, so that's not damage that's unique to you. It's fully destructible areas on the specific station, and in some cases that's going down some of these tunnels. There's bars in the way that are there to basically for you to collide into, and you can shoot them and destroy them before you actually hit. Maybe you can fly over them and hopefully the player following you may crash into them. It looks like there's quite a lot of different strategies that people are going to be able to come up with over the time. Talking of collisions, that's another thing that has been changed. Collision damage has been vastly reduced, so if you're flying around the edges of the station like this and you happen to clip it, you're not going to explode or lose your entirety of your shields. In fact, Dan clipped himself a few times when doing the demonstration, and at most he lost about half a ring for every clip, and that was pretty much going at full velocity. So I think and hope that should put a stop to ramming within this arena combat, and I don't think ramming has really got any place in arena combat, so that's certainly a good thing, and it keeps the pace of the game very, very rapid. Now, weapons have had a bit of a change. They are kind of halfway between being fixed and gimbaled. Again, that's there to keep the pace of the game up a little bit. Gimbaled perhaps makes things a little bit too easy, and fixed makes things a little bit too hard to hit when you're looking for rapid combat. So I'm quite pleased to hear that. That's quite a nice thing to introduce into the game. However, he did mention that there are fully gimbaled weapons involved in CQC, but he only actually mentioned that in reference to the Sidewinder. Now, I don't know if that means that gimbaled weapons are only available on the Sidewinder, or if that was all he was just talking about at that particular time. But he didn't actually mention gimbaled weapons in relation to any other ships, so that's something we're probably going to have to wait and see until we hear more about. Now, just look at these environments. They're absolutely gorgeous, and what he's doing here is the sort of thing I absolutely love doing. I fly around Coriolis stations and Orbis stations all the time like this, and yeah, I often clip into them like that. So having game areas where we're going to be able to do this, especially inside asteroid fields, is something that I'm really looking forward to. And now that these sort of areas have been designed, I really do hope that we can start seeing areas like this within the game itself. Platforms like this would be nice to see inside resource extraction sites for a start, wouldn't they? This is the second map. Slightly different colours, different station entirely, and they did actually mention that it is actually a lot larger than the previous map. Now, I don't know if there's any boundaries to the map. I don't know if you can just turn away from the combat and keep flying, or if you do that you get a message telling you you're leaving the combat area. What I would like to see is the absence of any invisible walls, and that if someone actually leaves the combat area, they can perhaps be disqualified, but they can keep flying regardless. That would be a nice change to this sort of combat. And here's an example of some of the interactive environment elements on the game. He can actually shoot some of the doors, and that causes them to open. Now, what I'd actually like to see here, and I've no idea if that is actually in the game, I'd like to have something like this precisely timed, that so if you shoot the door, it is literally only open for a split second, just enough for you to get through it, and enough time only for someone to follow you through if they're very close on your heels, and then it slams shut, potentially destroying whoever's behind you. Nice short little tunnel there, and I think that would make it very interesting if you're flying through very fast. And you can see that's only a one-way tunnel. There's no way of shooting that door from this side. I think that pretty much covers most of what was covered in the stream. There were a few other things, but like I say, I'll put a link in the description below so you can go and watch the entirety of the stream yourself. It's well worth having a look. It's about an hour long. I've just covered the important parts for the people who are unable or unwilling to go and have a look at that and rather see it in this sort of format. So all in all, I'm slowly warming up to the idea of close quarter combat. It's still dramatically different to anything that we were actually told about during the early development of Elite Dangerous, and I can understand and still feel very much that dogfighting and this sort of arcade style of combat is very different to what Elite was about in my mind before I actually started playing it, and it's a separate part of the game in the end, so it probably doesn't really matter, and it does look like it's going to be very much enjoyable, and essentially the skills you learn here are going to be transferable to the game more or less, so it's a good area to practice your combat skills in. Oh, and there was one other point that they did mention, and that was that the timed exclusivity for this on the Xbox is no longer going to be in the timeline of months, and that as soon as the Xbox version gets its full release, the PC version of CQC is going to be behind that as soon as possible. I did get the impression that Edward wanted to say a matter of days stroke weeks, but obviously he's bound by whatever rules Frontier have put on him, so he wasn't able to say that. But it certainly seems that it's no longer going to be a case of being exclusive to the Xbox for months. He didn't want to reveal any release date for the Xbox, its full release when it comes out of its preview program. I do think they have an idea in mind, but obviously they're not prepared to reveal that just yet. Anyway, that covers what we know about CQC at this point. And it was a nice look at the Condor ship as well. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.